So we're going to go ahead and start with the domain with this one again. So domain always go from the graph going up to the x-axis to help us see where all of the x values. Just remembering that wherever there's an arrow, put an arrow in both directions. So the domain of this function covers all real numbers, so it goes from negative infinity to positive infinity. Infinity symbols always get the parentheses. So the next one we're going to talk about is the range. For the range of the graph, we always want to go from the graph in towards where the y-axis is. And this time my y values keep going down. Now remember, from the range, you always want to start it from the bottom going up. So the lowest possible value that you have here for the y-axis is going to be negative infinity. When it goes up, though, it never crosses up here, so the highest possible y value that you get is 0, and that 0 gets a bracket because it's included. If it wasn't included, those would be open circles, but they're not, so 0 is definitely included. Now, the 2 points that I just graphed right there, those are also my x-intercepts. Remember, the x-intercept always has a value for x, and then the 0 is at y. So my two x-intercepts can be written as -2, 0, and at 2, 0. And then the last piece of information I'm asking for here is the y-intercept. Let me erase some of this up here. And my y-intercept is just this point right there. That is down there that's -3. So the y-intercept would be listed as 0 for my x value and then -3 for my y. All right, so again, we're going to go ahead and start with the domain, which are all of our x values. So think about what is all shaded here. This is included. So my domain only goes in between those 2 points. And let's make sure that's going to be 1, 2, and 3. Same thing over here. This is going to be 1, 2, and -3. Both of those values are included. So my domain goes from -3 until +3. Next up is our range. And our range again is all of the values in the graph that is a y. So my range goes between this. All of these here are included. But down here, this very last piece is not included. So if I go through and label those points for my y, that would be 1, 2, 3, and it might be a little bit off, but I'm still going to go ahead and we are going to call that point, let's call that right at 4. All right. So, but coming down here in this piece, because this is an open circle, that's going to be 1, 2, that's right at -3, but that -3 will not be included. So our range, again, we always start from the bottom going up. So our range goes from -3 up to, and I'm going to go ahead and call that just 4, because it seems like it's touching that. Next up are the x-intercepts. The x-intercepts are where the graph touches the x-axis, and that happens at both 3 and -3. So my x-intercepts will be at -3, 0, and at 3, 0. Always do write them at points. Now, for the y-intercepts, the y-intercept only happens right there, and again, I'm just going to go ahead and call that 4. So that's going to be a 0 for x value and +4. So our domain, again, goes for the x-intercepts. Now for this one, this graph only has an arrow going that direction. So our domain will go ahead and go down to -infinity. However, the domain stops right here at 3. And even though it's not a dark circle, it's not open, so that is considered a closed circle, so you want to put that in a bracket. Now, next up is the range. Range, actually, let me go ahead and erase the domain first. All right, so with that done, the range just is going again towards the y. Remembering that this is an arrow, so that keeps going up for y. But we also have this one point down here. Now that one point was included when we were dealing with the x's, but it's not with y's, so we need to make sure we have both of those parts. So that value down there is going to be at -4. So the way you handle that with the range, -4 is included for y. You put that -4 in a bracket by itself, and I union that going all the way from 0 to infinity. Now, because of the way the 0 is, this 0 here is an open circle, which normally you'd have the parentheses. But because I have this value right here that's included, that 0 needs to have a bracket. And infinity symbols always have a parentheses that go on them. Now we only have one x-intercept here. The only x-intercept that I have is this value right here, which is a 3. So my x-intercept would be considered 3, 0. The only y-intercept I have is down here at -4. So my y-intercept is going to be 0 and a -4.